Welcome back. This is episode 1 of TVT, Travel Vibes Tribes. I'm your host, Dr. Tammy L. Holmes. Once again, hopefully you'll go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you get notifications every other week when we put out a new episode. But I don't want to delay this subject anymore. Episode 1 is entitled Village People, Village Travel. Village Travel, Village People. These are the heartbeats of the culture worldwide. So why does it even matter? Because villages preserve traditions. Villages also share untold stories and show us what community truly means. So here's the challenge with the village. Sometimes these communities often rely upon global partnerships. One that I'm going to focus on today is entitled USAID, which stands for the United States Agency for International Development. They promote education, they promote healthcare, they promote sustainable development for an international village, an international community, for an international population. If you didn't know, we live in a global village. We do. And for those of you who might be watching who are living in the United States, our country is considered to be a superpower, but our country has 50 states. And the size of those states are really about the size of most countries that are governed with their own currency, language, laws. But yet our 50 states make up total of a very diverse nation called the US of A. But what happens when our political influence, our political systems stall? So what are you talking about, Dr. Holmes? Well, during the recent government inaugural 47th president, new to the White House returning Donald Trump and his vice president, Elon Musk, came in on day one. Mind you, they were inaugurated on Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, just here in 2025. That's Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, as they're now trying to possibly change it to call Liberty Day. Just like they're trying to take Flag Day and make it Donald Trump Day. But that's another story for another time. There has been a freeze, almost a government shutdown, specifically with USAID and other government agencies as they follow, affecting the lives worldwide. USAID on day one, after the inauguration, was targeted. 1.5 billion, 1.9 billion in delayed foreign aid is the most recent number. Over 200 plus USAID programs were paused, and 12 million students more than were affected. So why does this matter? Well, it matters to me. My motivation, number one, is because I'm a college professor. For some of you who don't know, I teach at various colleges, but at a HBCU here in Prairie View, Texas, known as Prairie View A&M University. Many people who are researchers or professors know that research is a significant part of the academy or the university life. And with that being said, research also pipelines research initiatives. R1, Research 1 institutions, R2, R3, but many dollars of research dollars are pipelined into these universities for research to be done in a variety of areas, whether it be engineering or agriculture or communication or biology or finding out the next advancement of cancer or the next advancement of some type of healthcare system. Usually runs through universities, and they're given this money to do research, and that research translates and transcends into policy briefs, which sometimes provides us data and research where we can build and take, and also can transcend laws as well. So I say that USAID has several components, and on the internet recently there's been a lot of frivolous quote-unquote spending according to unreliable sources. mainly hinting and haunting that this organization is robbery, a cartel full of thieves, but yet they support many, many countries and initiatives worldwide. The United States, as we know, is a country that has a serious economic impact. With that being said, USAID has a component by the name of education impact, or sometimes falls under the taboo words now of diversity, inclusion, equity, and also accessibility, DEI. I recently participated in a research project, a 2-year research project in the country of Brazil that was sponsored by USAID. It was only a $150,000 project budget that we were going in to evaluate higher education policies and laws of a quota law that was in Brazil, and how the outcomes and the impacts of a 10-year law and what that looked like social and economically for the country. There was little to no research on this particular law, and it was due to be voted again to see if the law would, number one, stay for another 10 years or in fact be canceled. Why is this important? Well, education is one of the most powerful tools for change. USAID has been leading that charge since the founding in 1961 by President John F. Kennedy. Through these initiatives, such as the education strategy from 2011 to 2025, USAID has improved learning outcomes for over 100 million children worldwide. According to Reuters, which is more of a Canadian-British, and AP, the Associated Press, it has impacted over 100 countries. Over 30 million children are basically getting more quality education, and 4 million teachers have been trained globally. But it doesn't stop there, because USAID, the education projects feed directly into the pipeline, as I mentioned, of research and policy. So data being collected from these village schools informs national education strategies, while research on learning outcomes shapes the future's programs. It's a cycle of progress, and that's stalling. To stall the funding, man, not only stalls progress, but stalls people's lives. My motivation here as an educator is not to necessarily tear down, but I do want to address the disruptive systems, the systemic systems that are now currently replacing themselves at the forefront of our government. I can speak personally about USAID. For 2 years, I experienced, I networked, I traveled, I took students abroad with me as research assistants, did trainings, performed, translated into Portuguese and English to talk about various aspects of media, of communication, even to help with podcasting, which is a major initiative of how information transfers through media, to even cutting a short and shooting a short documentary about this issue to bring awareness worldwide that we actually have more things in common than we do in differences. My motivation, while there was over 4,700 USAID employees who were sent an email at the top of the morning and by lunch had to leave the building because they no longer had jobs. You go to work on a Monday morning, you get an email that says, in the next 2 to 3 hours, you'll receive another email and you will be escorted out of your building. These people didn't even have time to even pack up their belongings, their offices. They were escorted out. The name was ripped off the building within a few days. No longer USAID. How do I know? Because I was there. I was just there not even 3 months ago at the headquarters in Washington, D.C., and took a group of 17 plus students to interact at USAID along with the Peace Corps to expose them to opportunities, to expose them to international development, what the world looks like. Maybe that you should look outside the window versus just looking in the mirror, because there's more to the U.S. than just this country. But if you never go outside, and oftentimes the people who are criticizing these type of programs, they don't even have passports. They haven't even been outside of their local communities, but yet believe what they're being told, but not recognizing the impact that our country makes in the world. USAID's budget is less than 1% of the overall budget for the United States government, yet it was the first to be targeted. With that being said, on January 29th, there was a shutdown. It was supposed to be a 90-day review of the spending, according to DOGE, the new government agency that was developed to review the spending. It didn't take 90 days. Programs were cut. Most recently, USAID was put under the State Department, which I can understand that as well. But even in that, the State Department has recently cut programs like the Fulbright scholarships that send researchers like myself and students to go out to be able to learn languages. The Gilman Scholarship, which helps learn languages, that yet students come back from these programs and begin to work in government with more fluent language, or critical language scholarships for languages that are not as popular as maybe Spanish or French, or some that are offered or not offered at most institutions, that help us ultimately in our diplomacy in the world. So this is where the village comes in. When these communities, you visit them, what I realize is that I'm not just a tourist. What I realize is that I'm witnessing the power of grassroots change, supporting local economies and initiatives that keeps progress moving forward, even when larger systems face setback. I came here to explore, but I ended up learning more than I ever experienced and even expected. It's not just travel, it's connection. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was 14 years old taking a Spanish class in high school. I had a teacher who came into my life and said, hey, we're taking a trip to Mexico to learn about language immersion as I was taking Spanish. She's like, I really think you should go. Go talk to your parents about it. I didn't talk to my parents about it. Long story short, a few weeks later, my teacher, knowing that I didn't talk to my parents, called my mother on the phone without me knowing and told her about the experience and how she thought that I would benefit greatly from a learning excursion to get out of my own community, because I was from rural USA, small town USA, real small town, white rural America, to be able to expand my lens. I can't tell you, that was over 30 years ago. And because of that is why I'm sitting here. Because of that, why I decided to continue and fulfill my college degree. But more so, that I continued in higher education. I'm sure without a doubt, I wouldn't have doctor letters in front or after my name if it had not been for this experience, which prompted me and promoted me to want to know more about this world that I live in. See, we're global citizens, and I'm going to talk about this at a later date about passports, but do you even have your identification? Your passport is just not because you're catching a flight that requires it. Your passport is your ID that says, I am a citizen of this world. Not just the United States, not a birth certificate, not just a state ID or driver's license of a state residence, but your global ID. And a lot of this yang of what people are talking and listening to on the internet, and I'm all about efficiency. I'm all about process improvement and evaluation and review. But most people take what they hear without even understanding. And I wish I could take some of them just out of their neighborhood, out of their community, to get on a plane, to travel somewhere, to go to a museum, to learn more, because trust me, this is the mission of the grassroots. So here I am. How can you support? Choose community-based travel. Do something different. Advocate for stable funding of programming, international, specifically education programs. And lastly, support nonprofits, especially those working in rural education. So here I am, right? This is my table, and every week I do something called Tammy's Table. And Tammy's Table is basically where I'm going to call to action. There's something that you need to do. See, we reflect on what really matters here. And today's takeaway is this: villages aren't just destinations. Okay, you can go somewhere and say I'm a traveler, and that's great, because usually people that go somewhere, but you can go across the street, you can go somewhere in your local community, you can go somewhere maybe in the city that you live in downtown. You can talk to the person who is your neighbor, who many times we don't even know anymore their names because there's been a lost sense of community. But here we are. These are communities that are shaping the future? How about we restore our community? And education is at the core. I can tell you right here, reading can do a lot of damage to ignorance. So maybe if you don't go anywhere, read a book. Man, traveling is like reading a book. But those who don't never get past page 1. I'm here. This needs support. And on today, I'm happy to report that even in the last 6 months of this frozen aid and President Trump going to the Supreme Court here recently and appealing to the highest court of the land, even though a federal court judge said that it had to be mandated, the contracts had to be honored, the people had to be paid for the work they have done before February 13th. You just can't dismantle and then not pay, not honor legal contracts. But yet he still appealed to the highest court of the land and asked for a reprieve. They paused on it for 2 days, but I'm happy to report that this morning they passed a 5-4 vote that people had to be paid. Contracts have to be honored. And you just can't skip out on $1.9 billion and then you're going to take it and then advertise to the world that you just saved the country money. People are out of work right now. People that work for the federal government are losing their minds. Some have buyouts. Some don't have severance packages. Some don't have enough years to even think. And yet we brag about the unemployment rate being lower than it ever has before. And we're saving so much money, but you're actually taking money from people's pockets to be able to live and sustain. It's just a matter of time before unemployment rate is going to go up in the next quarter, when unemployment rate is really coming from the people who work for the federal government. So here we are at the close of episode 1. Join the tribe. Feel the vibes. Be a global citizen. Subscribe to Travel Vibes Tribe, TVT. Share this video every 2 weeks. We'll be right back here for another topic. Let's keep this conversation going, because when we learn together, we grow together. So, what does village people, what does village travel mean to you? Share your thoughts at hashtag Travel Vibe Tribes or hashtag TVT on the Instagram page and Facebook. You can find it in the bio. And don't miss our next episode. I'm asking you here, just take a small step. Just open up just a little bit. Maybe speak to your neighbor. Maybe have a conversation. The more we learn about each other in our communities, whether they be local, regional, state, global, the more we realize how much we truly have in common. And even our differences highlight the diversity, the uniqueness, the creativity that we have been placed on this earth with. So, next week, we're going to be exploring the identity. I believe passports. Do you have one? Do you need to renew yours? It lasts for 10 years. This is the best time to do so. And if you do, maybe it's a time to think about putting a stamp in it. So I'm your host, Dr. Tammy L. Holmes. I'm here, like I told you, my motivation, 25 years teaching in college and university. This is my passion. I'm going to do it whether I get paid for it or not get paid for it. You can consider me a travel specialist, travel study abroad evangelist, because I'm going to tell it, I'm going to tell it some more. Because I believe, number one, the global, it's a mindset. And wherever your mind goes, trust me, your body is sure to follow. So here we are. Meet us back here for episode 2. In the meantime, do you feel it? Do you feel the vibe? Well, if so, come through and join the tribe. Peace.